If I told you that 5 years ago I couldn't code, would you believe me? Especially after seeing all these PowerShell videos I've put out over the last couple of years. This month I've passed AZ400 exam, which is Azure DevOps Engineer exam, and although this is just yet another cert to have, for me it marks a quite special moment in my career that kind of makes it that I made it, that I transitioned from Sysadmin to DevOps. Therefore, here's my little story. Hi guys, Kami here with slightly different video today because I won't be talking on PowerShell, although PowerShell will be in the core of the whole conversation and transition, but I'll be telling you a bit more about actually how I came where I am right now at this very moment, that is 2022. Why? Well, I think that might be interesting to some, maybe on the verge, or I don't know. I personally like to hear people's stories when they actually how they achieve something or even how they do something differently. So who knows, maybe there's somebody else like me who likes to hear such stories. So here we are. And pretty much we must go back into the 2017 and just give you a little bit of context what was happening in 2017, at least in the world of IT and Microsoft. Well, pretty much Windows 10 was released just 2 years ago. So it wasn't, probably as polished as it is by now. And nobody heard about Windows 11 because at the time, Windows 10 was supposed to be the last one, the very last version of Windows you get. Well, as we know by now, it's not quite a thing. Windows 7 2016 was released literally just a year ago, and now we are 2 versions ahead. We're on 2022 now. And if you can think about it, Windows 7 2008, 2012, and if you were very lucky, 2003, you could still find them. Yeah, they were quite still popular. And to compare to now, well, 2008 is out of support by now, Windows 7 is out of support by now, and 2012 will be out of support next year. So certainly a few things did change. So therefore what we have in what I was doing pretty much as in 2017, I was working as IT support engineer, and I was literally doing anything that started from line 1 to line 3 stuff. So from the very basic stuff, I was doing things like managing physical infrastructure, that is servers, switches, endpoints, IP phones, things like that. And I was doing, some things I was interested in as well, like automating OS deployments. At some point, I got to the point I could deploy by designing wipe, so completely reinstall Windows from scratch and put our base image on 80 machines at the time. And that could be done all remotely. So I just made it, you install that machine or that group of machines, it happens automatically, and within an hour you had brand new kind of just freshly installed machine. And that was because of the business requirement at the time. And I was configuring hypervisors and VMs, and this was also all on premises, because public cloud, well, that wasn't a thing. At least the company I was working for, they didn't trust in cloud. And I was, configuring firewalls, switches, patching them, things like that. Helping my colleagues, that's what I do up to date. So actually, there was somebody, but then I had completed Windows 8 certification, which is, well, I think the one thing I definitely remember from Windows 8 was using DISM tool, because that one is still with us until today. But pretty much we all know how Windows 8 got adopted. So quite a few things did transfer to Windows 10, but it is. And I was in the middle of working on towards Windows Server 2012 MCSA. And if you ask why not 2016, because I literally had nothing in 2016 production at the time. And after learning Windows 8 that literally nobody used, I just want to actually have something I could put hands on and have a practical experience. But hey, that was 2017, and that was me. That's where I was still a person who couldn't code and probably haven't even heard about PowerShell. Or maybe I just heard people complaining about it. I don't know. Anyways, let's move on. So I've pretty much been following Jeffrey Snover at the time, because Jeffrey Snover was, well, he's technical fellow, and I believe he's only the 3rd person in Microsoft to hold that title. So it's quite a big title, big name in Microsoft. And pretty much he was responsible to some extent for Windows Server 2012. So if you can imagine, I was working on 2012 certification, and I was pretty much following him on Twitter at the time. And Jeffrey Snover, if you don't know by now, is pretty much considered a father of PowerShell. which I don't think I even knew at the time. But the fact that he was actually doing quite the great things within Microsoft and technology, and actually his presentations were actually very, very good for me, very insight, very building and very real life. I pretty much were following the chap for some time. And also at the time, I was getting to the point where I wanted to meet more IT folks, you know, this sysadmin people, and I was literally in hunger. I wanted to meet them, I wanted to go and talk to them rather than just be within my colleagues. So one day, Jeffrey pretty much dropped a message on Twitter that he's going to be in London and he's going to attend a local meetup, PowerShell meetup, a meetup for IT people. I was like, wow. It was like exactly what I was looking for. The person who, to some extent, I admired at the time was going to be there. And you know what? They were even providing free pizza at this meetup. So I just had to be there. Like, if you know, it was literally London was one train stop for me. Like, I mean, one train stop. But I was working in Croydon, and that was in the central London. So it's literally a matter of half an hour, maybe hour. I could be there on that day. So I just had to be there. So I did. So October 2017, and the meetup was in the Fujitsu office. And there were pretty much a lot of people out there. It was a very nice office. And there was, you know, catering. So actually that was full-blown meetup. It wasn't just a meetup, that was actually a bit more like a happening or conference for that speaker. And well, by now it doesn't surprise me by the matter of caliber of, you know, people they had there. And, you know, I could see people in t-shirts to people being in the fully booted and suited. So whole spectrum of, I guess, engineers to managers. Anyways, I was just there, so I tried a little, you know, small talk with people because literally I was first time there. And apparently there was a monthly meetup, PowerShell meetup that was happening. So there were also quite a few regulars there. But anyways, that was my first time with London PowerShell group meetup. Here comes the first presentation by Steven Murawski, who I haven't clue who he was at the time. Apparently he worked for Stack Overflow and later on he was hired by Microsoft. Quite a big name in DevOps SRE world. And he did a presentation on spinning up, I believe, 10 or 20 VMs at the time in the cloud and shutting them down. My mouth literally just, you know, my jaw literally just dropped. Because I heard people talking about that. Oh, you know, you can just build things up and destroy them and then rebuild them again. But for me, the guy who had everything on premises and like doing 10 VMs at the time was like, this was the way. Yep, this is the way. If you know what I mean. That was obviously was very much seeing this. It's different when somebody talks to you this, or even you see on video, actually you have somebody in front of you live shows you how to you can actually do something like that from a little bit of piece of code. I believe he was using Chef at the time. But you know, just the fact I could see that the things actually can be done differently and they don't require a much pain that is required on premises. He was like, wow. And the second presentation by Jeffrey Snover. And Jeffrey gave a presentation about digital transformation, how we can lift and shift things to the cloud, how we can automate, and pretty much how to use cloud on the big scale. Apparently, there was a tool to manage everything on the cloud, on the premises, on Exchange Server, on DC. And that was the tool designed with sysadmins in mind. I mean, that was somebody like me. Yeah, I wanted to get into the public cloud. I knew the public cloud was the future, and I knew the automation was the future. I just didn't know how to glue it together. And now I have somebody, you know, the guy who actually invented the whole thing, sitting in front of me that's saying, yeah, go and use it. Because guess what? It's already in the Windows. It's built into the Windows. You just have to go, learn a few commands and use it. And we're talking obviously about PowerShell here, if you haven't guessed by now. At this very moment, Jeffrey mentions PowerShell, and that is the tool to manage all the things, and for all the things automation. I could connect the dots, yeah? I could connect cloud automation with PowerShell. I had what alcoholics call a moment of clarity. If you ever had this moment in your life, you literally know that everything changes within a second, within a blink of an eye, because that's the answer you were looking for, and everything is obvious at this point, and you just realize whether you should put everything on the card, you should follow it, or you shouldn't follow it. It's just, but I literally made decision, I think, at the spot that, yeah, whatever I'm doing right now, I have to forget it. I need to go and learn PowerShell. And that was literally the turning moment, which I think because of that, you wouldn't probably see me by now recording that videos or doing what I'm doing now. That was the moment that actually started the change. So if you think about it, this is a bit funny, because effectively that was one tweet, that was the snowball effect actually started for me to starting actually the change of where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. Let's see how that turned out for me. PowerShell is code, is writing code, is effectively programming. I mean, some people will say that scripting is not programming, but I think it's actually programming, because in PowerShell you can have classes, you can even compile PowerShell if you want, so effectively we're programming .NET. I mean, that's my take. But the truth is, I did try programming before, and it simply didn't cut for me. I had some basics introduction to programming in school, that was in Pascal, and the only thing we were doing with it was rewriting mathematical formulas from books into the code, which was like, boring. What am I supposed to do with that? So even if I wanted to pick any other language, then the other question came, what am I supposed to program? Like, who is going to use it? So I guess my imagination wasn't very much helping me. With PowerShell though, that was a different story, because I already had the tool, which is PowerShell, already had a goal, what I can code, what I can automate, what I can program. That was, I could automate my job. Yeah, I could literally, I think the end goal was automate myself out of the job. Because, if I could automate provisioning user accounts, creating VMs, Exchange, and things like that, I could literally, I had a goal. Yeah, my program was effectively my job. The tasks in my job became my little programs. That is my scripts. So suddenly I found the tool, I found the purpose, and all I had to do is actually learn the thing, how to use. Because obviously for somebody who never coded, let's say the concept of doing if statements or for loops or the whole concept of what is the object and creating objects, it's like, a completely different world, because you don't deal with that when you are managing systems, do you? So I needed to learn the damn thing, and since I always preferred learning from the books, cover by cover, I very quickly find out there's this guy called Don Jones, who wrote quite a few PowerShell books, and he wrote especially newbie friendly, like for me, that is somebody who never wrote a code, actually the book that takes you through the whole concept of how to write PowerShell, and actually takes you through the basics of what is variable and things like that. I still have it. With me. This is second edition, so that edition covers Windows PowerShell 3, but pretty much a lot of this knowledge still applies to the modern one. But that was it. I just literally went it unit by unit, day by day, after work, to learn it and actually just go and learn things. And this brings me actually a little story that will, the moment when I felt slightly more confident with PowerShell, and that brings me the story that I guess if not PowerShell safety built-in mechanisms, I would probably get fired. And the story is very simple. My director at the time hands me over a spreadsheet file with a bunch of users that, user accounts that needs to be deleted. So obviously me being at this point, PowerShell convert, go say, and obviously I'm gonna PowerShell it. So it doesn't take me that long to create that little loop to go through files, line by line delete the accounts, but there's something wrong when I press the enter to run it. The name of the guy I just seen, I literally passed this morning, appears on the screen. Are you sure you want to delete that account? Because this is destructive action, and PowerShell, at least the built-in PowerShell in Windows, has quite a few safety mechanisms, and one of them is if the thing what you're trying to do will destroy something, it will ask you, are you sure you want to delete it? You can obviously overwrite it, but thank God I didn't actually do that, because pretty much that will get me in trouble. So I say, no. And then the name of CEO name comes. Do you want to delete that? I can say, oh my gosh, what have I done? And I open this and I look at the spreadsheet. It looks okay. But the thing is, it was filtered out. So obviously Excel did respect the filters. PowerShell didn't respect filters. It just took my name. So then I had to take this file, create a new copy with already proper only filtered out names, and then it worked. But you can imagine, like, this simple mistake will probably cost me a lot, because deleting accounts EAD will, even if you have recycle bin enabled, still I think doesn't restore all the things, and even though, that would be a disaster. But hey ho, that was it. And there was something else. There was the other book people were talking about, and that was called The Phoenix Project. This one. And funny enough, I managed to get it signed by Steven Moraski. I still didn't get to meet Jeffrey's signature on it, but I hope I will, because that was, to sign this moment when I became a convert. But pretty much Phoenix Project, if you haven't heard of it, is a novel. So it's absolutely not, I mean, it is technical, but it's not, you will hear the story of IT department, actually the company that uses classic IT when, they are short of staff, they don't have enough money, they have all technology, and they need to get to the market. And obviously competition is killing them. So obviously it's showing the whole process of how they actually turn from this classical IT into the modern IT. And this is obviously all in the novel, but it just kept me inspired over the years that, I also want to build things in the cloud. I also want to have pipelines and things like that. And at least at the time, so that is the time of 2017, I identified myself as brand. If you read it, you will probably know who we're talking about. There are quite a few characters you can identify straight away, like, oh yeah, I know this is that person, this is that person. So if you haven't read it, read it. It's awesome read. So a year has passed since that time. Yeah, we are now late 2018, beginning of 2019. And as you can imagine, I got more sunk in into PowerShell world. So I've been writing scripts, functions, even modules. And pretty much my knowledge comes from this book. Another book by Don Jones, so the same guy who wrote PowerShell in month of launches. This is PowerShell scripting in a month of launches. So pretty much this book is great for on the point of it sets your mindset about how to build the tools, what is a tool, and etc. And then we actually start writing proper PowerShell code for it. So certainly I do recommend it if you want to use PowerShell more like a scripting language and more like a programming language. I get into things like Git, experimenting with DSC and pretty much all the other code. And I've noticed that the moment I've learned how to write code, a lot of other doors open for me, because I would never ever, look things like DSC, Ansible, Terraform, Git, or anything else, because, they require writing code. Suddenly, that barrier has dropped. So actually, PowerShell wasn't yet another tool I learned. It actually was more like a framework, a skill in itself that allowed me to go and experiment with other things. At the job itself also changed, because actually at some point I was given like a dedicated time for writing the code. So, I was still this IT engineer there, but actually I had time when I wasn't quite a firefighter anymore, and just to actually write code. So definitely a change. And yeah, I also got headhunted. So pretty much, apparently the combination of, somebody who understands IT, networking, how the IT operations work, with the ability to automate it, is quite a demanded thing in the job market. So I got headhunted. So that was first time in my life where actually I wasn't looking for the job. The job found me. That was quite a novelty to me. And well, obviously I took it, because that was like, I could be this, IT guy with some PowerShell skills. I could actually go and try, and well, in the worst case scenario fail, actually go more into this development side, because the purpose of the job was pretty much automating things. And well, don't regret it. So let's fast forward to now. Yeah, I completed by now my 2012 exam certification. I got Azure AZ 103 or 4, whatever the number was for Azure Administrator. I got this exam now. So that's just the sides. But pretty much as of now, I yet another time got headhunted for another job. And actually at the time writing PowerShell, I'm actually hired as the DevOps engineer, PowerShell developer. So actually this is my main work, my main thing I do now. I'm literally being paid for writing PowerShell code and building pipelines and etc. So yes, I got much more sunk into the PowerShell DevOps building DevOps world. So pipelines, testing things, improving processes. That's kind of built in there. I started having some little go on the C#, because apparently, well, whenever I want to write a proper application, I think that should be written in C#, especially when this web application, or even just to expand my horizon how you build things, because C# is a different way how you write things there. Gives you more speed and other things. You can write PowerShell. You can write PowerShell commandlets and modules in C#, which is funny. So whenever you have a PowerShell module that has .dll. That's actually partially written in C#. And thinking about this, my career, like I could probably stay on as IT guy and be on this having this kind of staircase a career. But I think just because I decided to go with the flow of PowerShell, it became more like a lift to me, yeah. So much faster, and well, I can still I could build up on my IT background and actually just top it up with the more development side of it. And you can see me on YouTube now, so well, let's see. Right, I think we can conclude it now. Why did I record this talking head kind of video, which is actually the very first talking head I ever done in my life? But hey, life is about experimenting, isn't it, and trying new things. For one, I did it really for myself, because I really wanted to document this moment, this journey I took like over 5 years ago. So actually I know it happened, and I still remember that when I was after this very first meetup with the Jeffrey Snover, I carry on coming for this meetups. Also I picked some others, but pretty much I was regular on PowerShell meetup. I always remember looking up to all these people doing this crazy stuff with PowerShell. So yeah, I still probably don't do some of this crazy stuff like they were doing, but maybe it's just because I am a bit more focused on automation. But still, it's really, yeah, that kind of to myself say, yeah, you've done it, you made it. Question is what's next? And also, I wanted to do it for others because who knows, maybe at the moment you're on the fence, and you don't need to be on the fence, or whether I go PowerShell this, you might be on any other fence, and you are looking for people who wanted to do something, try something new. I don't know. I just know sometimes you're talking to someone that will mention something and you will have your own moment of clarity like I had. So I hope that, well, one way, maybe you just enjoy the video, or maybe it will help you. If you're there on this fence, or you already passed that fence and you already made it, I really would love to know, because I think the more short stories we know, real stories, yeah, that actually happened to us, that is not just some writing, some imagination, but actually the real story when it happened, that's where the value is, and I think that's what life is. So anyways, I will not take any more of your time. Stay foolish and stay hungry. Have a great day. Bye bye.